Cavosa Excavating is a family-owned and operated company specializing in the installation of Title V septic systems. Cavosa Excavating is one of the largest septic system installers on Cape Cod. Whether it's upgrading your current system or installing a whole new system, Cavosa Excavating can do the job. Cavosa Excavating, 508-563-5530.
Founder Abraham Penn taught a valuable lesson that has been part of a tradition since 1919 when he said, "I'd rather make a friend than make a sale." For more than 90 years, Puritan has been making friends as a unique family-owned company right here in Cape Cod. At Puritan Cape Cod on 199 Main Street, as well as Chatham, Mashpee, and Hyannis, you'll find the latest in men's and women's clothing, as well as ski and tennis equipment, and much more. Puritan Cape Cod, 548-0116 or PuritanCapeCod.com.
Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging is nestled in a woodland setting on a picturesque ocean inlet. Green Harbor offers so much for a fun-filled yet affordable family waterfront vacation. Enjoy our private boating beach with ramp and dock, free rowboats and paddle boats, oversized heated outdoor pool and kiddie pool. You'll enjoy our attractive waterfront and beachside accommodations. So visit us online at gogreenharbor.com.
Gentlemen, the board is returning to open session from an executive session. I invite you all to rise and join the board as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A couple of procedural items before we begin our agenda this evening. Kevin Murphy has another obligation this evening and will not be attending. I will be chairing this meeting. If you have a cell phone, please make sure you silence it, turn it off, put it on vibrate. If you choose to speak, or if you would like to speak, please wait for the chair to call upon you. If the chair does call upon you, please come to the lectern, identify yourself for the record, and any comments and questions, please direct them through the chair. If you leave before our meeting is over, please do so quietly, because obviously if the meeting is not over, we still have business to conduct. And so, the first item on our agenda is to approve a request for a new all-alcoholic club license for Seacoast Shores Association. This is a hearing, and notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws as amended, that Seacoast Shores Association Incorporated has applied for a new all-alcoholic club license to be exercised at 7 Fairview Lane, East Falmouth. The hearing this evening. Do we have the applicant or the applicant's representative here?
Yes, good evening. My name is Stephen McLaughlin. I'm the attorney for Seacoast Shores, and with me tonight is Mr. Bob Barker, who's the president of the association. And I'd like to say I'm also a member of the association and a homeowner in Seacoast Shores. As the members of the Board of Selectmen may know, in July of 2012, the association completed the construction of its new clubhouse, a cost of over $1 million. And it really is part of the rebirth of Seacoast Shores. And in the summer of 2012, we worked on a weekend basis liquor license for each of the weekends, and it was extremely successful. We had hoped to have the full liquor license for last year, but because of the delays involved in getting the application in with the ABCC approval, it was recommended by the board to use the weekend licenses. And everything went off without a hitch. The food is great, it's a great location, it's a beautiful building, and we really think it's going to be a great boon to the Seacoast Shores Association and the whole neighborhood. Of the approximately 900 homes in the Seacoast Shores neighborhood, we have about 300 members, so we represent about 1/3. We're hoping that we can entice more members with this beautiful clubhouse. And the availability of a liquor license will allow us to serve the liquor as part of the clubhouse functions, and we think it's an essential part, an essential component of a successful clubhouse operation. So that's basically the history of where we are and why we're here.
Any questions from the board?
I just have one comment, and maybe this is more of your issue than my issue. I noticed that one of your board of directors is also the manager. I'm just wondering if there needs to be a concern about having the board of directors who's signing off on the manager being the manager.
Well, if you prefer to have her come off the member of the board of directors, that's fine. She is a person who is a crucial, great component of the board of directors in the association. She and her husband have dedicated countless hours to the development of the clubhouse, to fostering the growth and improvement of the whole association. That's how the board knew that she was the perfect candidate to be the manager and to take on this responsibility. When she takes on a project, it is done to perfection, soup to nuts, A through Z, everything is covered. But if the board has a concern, I would imagine she'd probably voluntarily step off. But
and again, I'm not sure whether it's really appropriate for it to be our concern.
Yeah,
or
it's
just
not
struck
as
me as being a bit of an issue.
Right, because it's a nonprofit organization, it's not as if she has an ownership interest or derives any profits. I mean, this is a labor of love.
But would be getting an income.
Yeah.
So
well, yes.
Would have fiduciary.
Yes, absolutely.
Benefits from it.
Absolutely.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Is it expected that the clubhouse will be open, say, every night? I mean, serving food, or will it only be for special occasions or certain functions?
Ideally, the answer will be every night.
Mm-hmm.
That may end up being a function of the demand. As it was over the past summer, it was Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. We would have preferred to have it open at all times. When the pool goes in, when the tennis courts go in, we would like to have the ability to have people go in and out of the clubhouse and obtain food. Those are going in over the course of the next 2 years. But ideally, the answer is we'd like to have it open every day, every evening. If there's not demand there, then it wouldn't make sense to do it. Many of the people there are weekend residents. Many of the members are weekend residents, so they might not be interested in being there during the week, but a lot of them are down for the summer as well. So it will be a function of demand. It really is what the answer is going to be to that.
And a follow-up, and will the people who live on Seacoast Shores, maybe not all of them might be members of the association, and maybe all of them are by virtue of owning property?
No, it's a voluntary membership. You have to sign up, you have to pay dues. And we've tried to get everybody involved, but of course not everyone's interested. As I mentioned, about 1/3 of the homeowners are members. We're hoping that even more members, more residents, more owners will become members and become more actively involved in the community because of this clubhouse.
And there will be a procedure or process for accounting for those who are members, so that when they present themselves at the club,
Yes.
it will be noted that they are a member or they have a guest or
Correct.
whatever the
We
rules are.
already have
You already
tags
have that
or
in place.
cards. We all have identifications so that the management will know who we are.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions?
No.
I would like to read a couple things into the record, and then I have a few questions myself. The board, of course, requests feedback from various town departments, and we received feedback from the police department. This is Brian Reed, Lieutenant. I have reviewed the application from Seacoast Shores Association for an all-alcoholic club license. This department has no problem with issuing the license. However, I would respectfully bring to the board's attention for consideration that the applicant manager lists Falmouth as a summer residence and Shorewood, Minnesota as a primary residence. We also have feedback from the Board of Health. Seacoast Shores Association has had a permit to operate a food service establishment, for the year 2012 and ended the year in good standing. And from the Zoning Board of Appeals, on February 6, 2013, this office received a request for recommendations for an all-alcohol club license for Seacoast Shores Association. The subject property is zoned Residential C and consists of 1.39 acres. There is a special permit on subject property regarding parking area surface. Please note that the parking area is not complete at this time. Seacoast Shores Association has an administrative approval, copy attached, by the board for temporary parking of 38 vehicles that will expire on October 31, 2013. And then the questions I have, one of my concerns is that, as noted, and looking at the application, that the manager lists her primary residence as being Minnesota.
That's right.
If this is going to be a year-round facility, how often is she in Falmouth?
Well, if this does become, in fact, a year-round facility, if there's demand for it, then we will most likely be bringing in another person to act as the more direct manager on behalf of the clubhouse. But for our purposes right now, we are not open until we have the license and until there is demand for it. So she is the person who we're designating as the manager. If we bring in a specialized person, then Arlene would become a general manager, and we would change over, with the approval of the board, to a new liquor license manager for that designated person.
Okay. In the past, when you mentioned that you had one-day liquor licenses
Yes.
issued, has she been present for all of those liquor licenses?
Yes. There was also another manager involved at that time who is no longer with the association. We brought him in as an operator consultant, and he was the one who was named at that time. But she was very, very actively involved in the operation of the clubhouse. She is Serve Safe certified for food.
Mm-hmm.
She's not yet tip certified, but she will be, as will everybody who serves and handles alcohol. Everybody will be tip certified. That is a guarantee. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does.
We're in somewhat of a growing process here, and we're evolving as we go along.
And then the last, and I guess it's more of a comment and a concern, This is a residentially zoned area, and this is more or less directed towards the board for consideration. We're talking about giving an alcoholic license, an all-alcoholic club license to an institution within an exclusively residential area. And oftentimes, we've heard complaints about, and I'll use the Heights, for example, as being discussed as a residential area, but the businesses there are zoned business, and they've been well-established for decades, if not hundreds of years. I have some concerns about establishing a club license in this neighborhood. There's really no precedent, I think, for it. Every other time we've provided a club license, it's, on property that is not zoned residential, but is either already business zoned, marina zoned, has other zoning purposes, and it's usually in an area which is not so heavily residential. And so I have some reservations about that. Does the board have any other questions or comments? Okay.
I'd be happy to respond to that if you'd like to hear anything.
Please.
Okay. First of all, I would point out that this is a clubhouse that is intended to serve primarily the members of that community and their guests. So unlike a situation where there were issues on the Heights, for example, I can go back to the 70s. I was well familiar with the activities on the Heights in the 70s. It's not like that. You're not bringing in people from outside the neighborhood who are then disregarding the people who live in that neighborhood. This is very, very different. There are a number of people who walk to this facility, and so with being mindful of we are residents of that community, we are the neighbors of the people who are the neighbors to the clubhouse, and we have all put in our clubhouse and dues, fees to support this. The fees to build this building, over $1 million, came from the residents. And so you have a different set of stakeholders as opposed to the public coming into a neighborhood that they're not part of. And I want to point that out. It makes a huge difference. It really does.
And the only thing we can limit anyway is whether there's liquor served there. All the other aspects of the club, we have no control over, right?
Agreed.
The pool and the tennis courts and the clubhouse itself are going to go on no matter what. It's really only whether liquor can be served. I think even the club, if we didn't do this, they could bring their own by right.
Well, what used to happen, there used to be a small cinder block building there that had functions of this nature as well. So it's not like we just came and dropped out of the sky and landed on this lot. There's a history since 1951 of this spot being used for the community functions. So it's not as if neighbors are shocked by it or it's really new. It's just the facility itself is so much better and so much nicer that it can be used more often.
But you are talking about potentially 365 days a year demand
Potentially, yes.
in that area where it wasn't there before.
Correct.
Okay.
It's a potential, but it's probably not completely likely.
Other comments from the board?
Just real quickly, I know two things. Last year, I think we did the 30 one-day licenses. I don't know, we did all the maximum they could have. Isn't it 30?
I believe it was.
Yeah, and gosh, I've received many phone calls from very concerned neighbors. Do you happen to know the percentage of the residents in there who were actually involved? With their dues-paying members, and is there like a percentage of the? I know there's probably some rental houses in.
There's some rental houses. I think it's about 250 to 300, almost 300 out of the 900 homes.
So about a third. Okay. Also, you're going to be having public things there, like if someone from North Farm or anywhere else wants a wedding there? Or is it just going to be limited to?
At this point, that issue is evolving as well. I mean, right now, we have a number of matters we need to address. We need to address finishing the parking spaces, for example, which is a provisional approval at this point until October, which takes us through this summer. Part of the reasons that the parking isn't completed yet is because we have a pool going in and tennis courts, and so that area is going to be worked on still. To the degree that we might have it availability of rentals, it's not really certain at this point. Ideally, we'd like to be able to consider it. If it's something the board's concerned with, we can certainly come back and talk about it.
We had our very first sewer social in that cinder block building several years ago. I remember that. So it's got to be completely different now.
Oh, it's very different.
Would it be appropriate to request a seasonal one and then come back if you want to make it year-round? Just because you're saying you only have a seasonal manager, that you would have to come back for permission to have a different manager anyway. I mean, in some ways, I'd feel a little more comfortable if it's...
Well, we would have to deny this application.
Yeah, and
They
then
could
they'd
come
have to
back
come
to
back
us
all
with a
over again.
request for a seasonal application if that was the desire of the board. Any further comments or questions from the board? All right, I will open it up to members of the audience because this is a public hearing. I would first ask anyone who's speaking in favor of this, raise your hand, I'll call on you, and then we'll take opposition.
Thank you. Robert Barker, 364 Edgewater Drive East. I'm the current president of the Seacoast Shores Association, and we are in final, I wanted to add something to Attorney McLaughlin's comments. We are actually in final negotiations with a full-time manager who has extensive experience in hospitality, liquor license, liquor serving, and he will serve as the general manager for the entire operation, including the pool and the tennis court when they're finished.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name is Winifred Woods. I've been a year-round resident of Seacoast Shores along with my family since 1955. As a small child, I attended some of the functions in the clubhouse. It was highly family-oriented and child-oriented at the time. I understood the gentleman to say that there was a lack of interest from the majority of the residents. However, I'd like to dispute that. Since the $1.2 million clubhouse has been built, membership has actually dropped off of the long-term members because they can't afford the membership. I analyzed the valuations in Seacoast, and approximately 47% of the over 900 residences are valued under $250,000. This was a development, and I hope that you will go out. If you're going to make the decision, I hope you go and visit the site. I worked on the planning board, or was a member of the Falmouth Planning Board in the mid-'80s. And the site visits were always extremely important to me in my decision-making. And this is one of those situations where I highly encourage the members to go out and have a look. This was a subdivision of over 1,000 lots, now consisting of over 900 dwellings. It was intended in the late 40s to be a modest seasonal development. Over the years, we've had more and more year-round residences. A lot of the older residences have been knocked down and, quite frankly, McMansions built. We have a dichotomy of values now that we didn't have until the last couple of decades. Now we have values going from just over 169,000 all the way up to over $1.3 million, $1,300,000. And the really valuable properties are now all along the water and water view. But the traffic and all of the results and negatives from the traffic is imposed on the people of more modest means that live along the boulevard. Seacoast is highly unique in the sense that not only is it one of the older and larger developments, it also is out of the core service area, which means police and fire are a bit hampered now with congestion in the streets getting to us. And what we've found is we have 36 streets in Seacoast and dozens of intersections, none of which have stop signs. We have 3 stop signs on the entire street. The intersection of Seacoast Boulevard and Route 28, and at the dog leg near the beach at Bayside, there are a stop sign at each leg of that, Edgewater Drive East and Bayside. Other than that, there are no stop signs. And what has increasingly been happening as the traffic becomes more and more prevalent is that people are missing the stops, and they're going right out into heavily trafficked boulevard. We had a very bad accident in August and another one in September of people missing the stops and coming right out. One was a flip over. The other one, the police were there for well over an hour and a couple of ambulances came. I myself have witnessed 2 of those kinds of accidents, and I know of 4 such accidents at Winchester and Seacoast Boulevard all by itself. If we now introduce what essentially is a commercial use at the very end of the peninsula, we're going to be, and this commercial use involving alcohol, we're going to be inviting even worse problems. And quite frankly, I think our emergency services are taxed enough without adding to it that far out of town. I've written a letter, and I hope that you'll read it. It's pretty extensive, but it outlines all of my concerns about this membership. I'd like to point out that there's been sort of a new, refreshing attitude toward alcohol and substance abuse. And there are various groups like the Falmouth Prevention Partnership and Jack's Pact trying to change some attitudes. If this is supposed to be a residential homeowners group, it would be nice if it actually represented the residents on the street, and especially those with children. In my view, this does not. And you're right, you can't stop them from bringing alcohol. But the fact of the matter is having looked at their website, they are contemplating renting out to non-residents. This is a totally non-conforming development. It doesn't have the kind of standards for safety and quality of life that we are now enjoying. This is from 1947, and believe me, there were less than 1 car per lot, and things were really peaceful. I live on the boulevard about 1/3 of the way down, and in the summertime, I have to have air conditioning now because it's impossible to sleep. The traffic goes from about 5:30 in the morning all the way till about 1:30, 2 o'clock at night, and we've got lots of big vehicles and a lot of traffic. I'd like to point out that the commercial use would also entail large delivery trucks delivering food and liquor, and waste trucks taking it away. We have a Title V septic system serving this parcel, and here we are as a town struggling to come up with the money to remediate the nutrition of our salt ponds. Here we have an area that's an ACEC, or located to, very close to an area of critical environmental concern. I spent a lot of my life helping to protect that. And I really find it difficult to accept that we're going to now intensify the use in a totally inappropriate area when we're trying to solve these problems, not add to them. Anyway, my letter makes a little more sense in writing than I do verbally, so I'm going to pass this to you and ask you to read it, please. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just pulled out just for my own knowledge, there's been 6 motor vehicle accidents on Seacoast Shores. 2 of them are with Route 28 intersection in the last 2 years.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bertha Manson. I'm from 9 Pershing Drive, and one of my big concerns I've had since I moved in 1990 was the fact that I'm a year-round resident. I don't get involved with the clubhouse because of having days when they drink and drive. I don't want drinking and driving in my area. I also don't want them thinking it's all right to drink and drive, nobody will notice it. I care. I care about the people. I live in Seacoast. I've lived in Seacoast since 1990. I moved in 1990. I said I'm not getting involved with the association because all they want to do is drink and drive. And that's not right for the people that live in Seacoast. I want a community where people go respect the fact that I don't have to drink to make things beautiful and happy type person. I can go to an event and be content where I am. I want to be able to live in my area and not think, oh, I have to worry about drinking and driving. We've had a fatality over there. I don't want any more drinking and driving. That's my issue about them. I just would like them to say no, they're not going to do that because I don't want to see people die of drunk driving. This is not nice. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make sure that we're clear that I understand that that may be a concern of yours, but I doubt that the association is condoning drinking and driving.
No, it has been, in the past, before I moved, when I moved in 1990.
Please,
there was
please.
driving. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else like to speak in opposition? Okay. At this point, then, I think we'll close public comments, and the board has a decision it has to make. Any discussion?
Well, I'm inclined, based on this new information that Winifred Woods provided us tonight and some of the public comment, that maybe we might continue this till the next meeting. We've been asked to go out and look at the premises. I haven't, obviously. I would have, had the weather been a little more amenable to it. Yeah, it is. But I think it would be, because it is a new activity in a very densely populated area, I think we would be doing our due diligence if we took the time to do that. I know we don't meet next week, but we meet the following week. So that's my suggestion, that we might want to do that, because, and then to take into consideration the other public comments in the, that are for the license and the benefits that the people who obviously want to make this happen see that it could be beneficial to the residents. But I think it's very hard to do that when you just open a public hearing and then you hear both sides. It's very difficult to make that judgment. And also, it's always nice to go out and see the place itself. It gives you a sense of where it is, how the traffic moves, how many people it would handle, so forth. So I'm not going to make a motion until the rest of you have a comment.
I'm certainly agreeable to it.
Yeah, I'm just
I feel
trying
better
to,
about that, too.
yeah, in fact, I'm going to second it, because I think that's.
Well, I'll make a motion then that we continue
Make
it
the motion.
until February, is it the 25th?
Yeah.
25th. Oh, you're not available that night? We could.
And we need to have a certain number to vote on this one as a public
Pardon?
hearing. I will not be here on the 25th either because of the superintendent's
Oh, that's right, there are
search.
only 3 people
Okay.
here that night
All right.
anyway, so the following week would be better.
And Kevin can't participate if he wasn't here for the first.
March
For a second,
4th.
third, March 4th?
March 4th? Okay. Would March 4th be agreeable to the applicant?
I'm not here, I'm out for the month, unfortunately.
On March? But is there,
Yep.
but,
March 4th, then? All right. Then continue to March 4th. We have a motion.
And I'm going to second
We
it.
have a
at
second.
at a time
Okay.
certain,
Mrs. Jeske,
8:15?
Okay.
8:15.
Can we do it any earlier, or do we have other hearings that evening?
We start at 7 and have a report scheduled at 7:30. You have 7, 7:10, 7:20, 7:30.
Are those hearings? Just thinking, because hearings, we have to post the date and the time, and if this is the only hearing that evening, we could put it to the front of the line.
There's a hearing at 7 and a hearing at 7:20.
Okay. So then could we put this at, say, 7:35, 7:30, or 7:35?
We can bump them before time.
All right, so we have a date and time certain. Any further comments from the board?
So what is the final time?
7:30.
7:30.
So, 7:30, March 4th?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Second item on our agenda is a request to approve for pledge, excuse me, for a pledge of license for an all-alcoholic liquor license, Cherry Stones Incorporated, doing business as Oysters 2. Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws as amended, that Cherry Stones Incorporated, doing business as Oysters 2, has applied for a pledge of license of its all-alcoholic common victualler license located at 876 East Falmouth Highway, East Falmouth, to be conducted this evening. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here?
James Keogh from New England.
Please come to the lectern and identify yourself for the record.
James Keogh from New England Phoenix Company, the pledgee.
Thank you. And if someone on the board could enlighten me, or perhaps the town manager, I'm not familiar with a pledge. What exactly is a pledge of license?
Nor am I familiar with that, Mr. Chairman.
Perhaps you could enlighten us.
It's required to secure, to perfect a security interest. And it would be approved by the town and then approved by Mass ABCC as a way to finalize a security interest in the liquor license.
So a pledge of license stock, the principal amount is $540,000, 6% interest, payment term 25 years to New England Phoenix Company Incorporated, that's what you're...
That was the original loan. That is not, that was done in 1997,
Okay.
and we are the assignee of the lender.
So then am I to understand this is almost, basically, you're asking the board to approve a mortgage of sorts?
Correct.
Okay.
The license is already in place.
The license is in place, and there is now, it appears that New England Phoenix Company is looking for an interest in the license, is that?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You notice on the liquor licenses, one of the questions they ask, is this license going to be pledged? I mean, on every application. And occasionally it happens, not too often, but it happens occasionally. And then sometimes down the road, it happens again. So, and that's what we're here for tonight.
Okay.
Cherry Stones has been in business a long, long
yeah.
time, yeah, as we all know, so.
All right.
Move for approval of the pledge of all alcoholic liquor license for Cherry Stone Inc.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is a public hearing, so I would entertain any comments from the audience in favor of this or in opposition to. Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Any last discussion by the board? Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposition? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is to approve a request for a new all-alcoholic common victualler license, Just One Bite Restaurants Incorporated, DBA Parkside Market. Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws as amended that Just One Bite Restaurants Incorporated, doing business as Parkside Market, has applied for a new all-alcoholic common victualler license to be exercised at 281 Main Street, Falmouth, Massachusetts. Do we have the applicant or the applicant's representative here this evening?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Stephen Bowen. I'm the Vice President of Just One Bite Restaurants.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I have a comment. I love that you provide us with your menu.
Oh.
It's so interesting and enticing at this hour of the night, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I understand this is all alcoholic, not just wine and malt, is that correct?
Correct.
And what was there before was just wine and malt, is that right?
Correct, yeah. Yes.
Thank you. We do have feedback from the police department. They have no problem with issuing the permit. We have feedback from inspectional services. They are not opposed to granting the license.
Since Chairman Murphy's not here, this would require a question about tips, making sure that all servers are tip certified.
Correct.
No question.
Yes,
What is the
we would make
pleasure?
sure, I mean, everyone was certified, so. Typically, even the bussers would be certified, so.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I would move approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
This is a public hearing, so we'll entertain comments from the audience. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of? Okay, hearing none. We have a motion and a second. Any last comments by the board?
No.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? It's unanimous. Moving right along.
This is the night of events, huh?
It is. We have, next on our agenda, we're catching up, actually. Next on our agenda, we have a request for special event, Arts Alive Festival, Arts Falmouth, the Library Lawn and Shore Street Extension. This would be for June 21 of this year through the 23rd, the 21st through the 23rd. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here this evening? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I would ask the board if they would...
If you might, Roger, if you could
I'm
identify
sorry, I'm
yourself
Roger
for the
Day.
record.
I'm Roger Day from Arts Falmouth. We're the sponsors of the Arts Alive Festival and of Jazz Fest, which I think I'll speak about in just a moment. We're asking the board to approve a permit for us to hold this three-day event. It will be virtually identical to last year's event. And I would be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
I would point out to the board and also Mr. Day that we do not have jurisdiction over the library lawn. Have you sought permission from the library trustees for the use of the library lawn?
We have, and it has been granted.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
And
It
they,
is in our packet.
and they're also asking permission to hang the Connect with Arts and Falmouth flags along the street. That's part of this application.
We have asked, yes, we have
Right.
requested
Yeah,
that.
you do it each time.
And I think, has Mr. Calfee provided a letter? He said he would do so.
I'm not seeing it in the packet yet.
Do
No,
not
but
see it in my packet.
I didn't see anything from, we have a letter from the library. But there's nothing from
The library
Mr.
letter
Calfee.
isn't in my packet.
Oh, it isn't?
No, I just have the email from Mrs. Morrison.
Oh, okay. For the record, the police department reviewed this. They have no problem with issuing the permit. And we have feedback. Oh, I'm sorry, this was the initial request for feedback. Of course, this will require the closure of the Shore Street extension from dawn on the 21st until noon on the 24th.
In the event that school is still in session, could that potentially be a problem on the school days?
That is a very good question.
And with the amount of snow we've already had, there's a chance that we'll still be in school for Mullen Hall then.
But it's 5 PM on Friday.
I thought they were closing the street at noon.
It says from
maybe.
dawn on the 21st,
Oh, from dawn on the 21st.
so it would be closed on Friday. And Mr. Day, perhaps you can speak to that.
We've had no difficulties in the past, and it's the school bus issue as much as anything else. And the school buses have been able to come and go without using the Shore Street extension.
Mr. Chairman, it's a concern with the fire department, just want to ask.
Okay, thank you. We do have an email here from Tim Smith at the fire department. They have, let's see, the tent falls under the building department. They do have a concern about any potential cooking equipment, uses gas or heating grills, then the fire prevention personnel would need to inspect the equipment. Any equipment that produces an open flame would not be acceptable within the tent. Is there any?
We can certainly accommodate that concern.
Okay. Any further questions?
I would move approval of the closing of Shore Street extension for the dates from July 21st to July 23rd for the Arts Falmouth, and also for the putting up of the sign on Main Street.
And the street closing.
That was.
That was in your minute.
The
Okay.
first part of his motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this? All right, hearing none. Motion and second. Any last comments by the board? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposition? It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Am I?
And the next item on our agenda, as Mr. Day pointed out, we have a request for a special event, Arts Falmouth Music Performances at Peg Noonan Park, October 4, 2013. Mr. Day.
I'm still Roger Day, and I'm asking the board to allow us to use Peg Noonan Park as part of the Friday night jazz stroll of our Jazz Fest music event of that weekend.
Okay.
If you have not been to the jazz stroll, we have live music from Queens Byway to Peg Noonan, or really Cape Gallery Framers beyond Peg Noonan, We have 12 different groups playing in shops, restaurants, and in the park from about 6 until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. It's a free event, by the way.
This may be a question we're going to suffer every time with Peg Noonan Park. Do you expect there to be some particularly high-traffic areas on Peg Noonan Park? If there are, I would suggest that they do the same thing we'd ask the farmers market of discussing with the DPW as to how we can protect the grass in that area.
We put up a tent and a bandstand on which the bands play, and we have tables and chairs. I'd be happy to consult with whatever town department is appropriate to see what they have in mind. You steer me in the right direction.
It would be the DPW that would use.
Okay, Rocky, they have these new mats. They have some mats they were lending out, or they're requesting some of the vendors to get the mats. But if you speak with Rocky Gomes. at the
Sure, I can
DPW.
find, yeah. I think you would find that our traffic is a little less than the traffic of the farmer's market, and is for a briefer period, but I'm happy to talk to him and do whatever he suggests.
Further comments from the board? Do we have a motion?
I move approval of the use of Peg Noonan Park for the arts the performance on October 4th with the rain. There was no rain date, just Friday, October 4th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the public? Okay, hearing none. Last comments from the board? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Cultural fairs, the same dates.
All right, we have a request for a special event, the Cultural Survival Fair at Peg Noonan Park would be July 20 and 21st of this year. The applicant or the applicant's representative?
Yes, my name is Dave Favreau. I'm the program manager with Cultural Survival.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Could you explain exactly what the park, the one Penske and equipment trailer you have planned to park in the lot? Can you give a little more details about what that is for?
Yeah, we have some various equipment, like music equipment, when different bands are switching, and we go to the back of the Penske and grab some other equipment. I usually store some of the music equipment there. I have all the vendors and customers. I call the school nearby behind the library so that there's not too much of a strain on parking in the area. But usually it's helpful just to have like my one Penske closer by, so you don't have to walk all the way to the school. But that can be adjusted if you'd rather it near the school.
I just wanted to comment on that because we've been making more of a concerted effort to have the vendors come and drop off their things and then return their vehicles to the school parking lot.
Yeah.
So that they don't take up spaces in the.
Yeah, after the first year, I've been in touch with, I reached out to some of the Village Association and some of the other groups, the Chamber of Commerce, and on the second year of our event, I made that transition. And also I had some signs that I put out that just directed people who are coming specifically for the event, because I know how important parking is to some of the businesses. I also had a brochure table for some of those local businesses too, to try to be very inclusive.
For the record, we do have feedback from the police department. They have no problem with issuing the permit. They do request that the organizers contact the detail sergeants so adequate public safety provisions, if needed, can be arranged.
I will do.
The DPW has reviewed the request, and the event was held last year, created no problems for this department. They do not anticipate any issues this year. The fire department indicated that if there is any cooking equipment at the site, they will need inspection by the fire prevention unit.
Understood.
That cover all of them? Those are the conditions.
It does, yeah. They are in the conditions, okay.
What kind of vendors are we discussing?
We bring artisans, indigenous artisans, native artisans from different countries. We work with like fair trade products and artists who do demonstrations. It's an educational event, but it also is a nonprofit. And what we do is the revenues are invested in the event and also do a lot of great work in some of the poorer communities where the artists come from. And it's celebrating people who live their culture through art and music.
I would ask the board if they would think it'd be consistent to go with our policy of the farmer's market to have this go from 10 to 5 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. That if we were saying that we wanted the farmer's market to move on at 5, it would be appropriate for this also to, and then just the question to the board on that issue.
Consistency is a good thing. I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah, there gets to be a, kind of like a free-for-all for parking on Main Street, particularly between that 5 and 7 o'clock time.
Yeah.
You know, with the restaurants. So we've been limiting, we did limit, you're right, the farmer's market till 5 p.m.
It's understandable. We have events elsewhere that have that
Yeah.
same thing, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would move approval of this, the cultural survival event, Peg Noonan Park on Saturday, July 20th, and Sunday, July 21st, the rain date, August 3rd, and Sunday, August 4th, with the event hours being from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. With the aware that setup, it will be happening on Saturday at 5 a.m.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would anyone from the public wish to comment on this application? Okay. Hearing none. We have a motion, we have a second. Last comments by the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Not doing too bad. All right, we have 4 petitioners' articles to be heard, and as the board has done in recent years, we entertain presentations from the petitioners, and then when the board makes its recommendations, it makes it easier for us to determine whether or not we would like to recommend or not recommend these articles. First, this evening, we have Article 12. Mark Finneran is the petitioner. Mr. Finneran?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark Finneran, Precinct 6. I'm not sure which order this is in. What article is 12?
Actually, let me see.
Precinct
We have-
sitting in precinct.
Sitting.
Oh, okay.
By precinct.
This is about sitting in order in precinct. This question has come up numerous times over the years. And from watching town meeting and then responding to, citizens afterwards, who voted which way, how, no one ever really can tell. It came to a head, I think, at the last town meeting after the article I had regarding the water. Many people commented that it seemed on the voice vote, it was much closer, and then the standing vote seemed to differ. And the majority of taxpayers that I speak to would like to know how the person they vote for to represent them in town meeting actually votes. As I wrote in the article, in the Constitution, which is the blueprint for good government, under Article 1, Section 5, Paragraph 3, it says, "Each house shall keep a journal of its proceedings, and from time to time publish the same, excepting such parts as may be in their judgment require secrecy. And the yeas and the nays of the members of either house or on any question shall, at the desire of 1/5 of those present, be entered into the journal." And if you follow state or national government, you can look in the Enterprise, you can see how our representatives vote, and you can judge them by their performance. This could be done a couple of different ways. People could simply sit by precinct, and those that are watching could see how they would know, which section to look in, and they could tell how the person that they voted for voted on any item, article, or whatever. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's in the Constitution. We're supposed to model our government after that, and it's basically that simple. I'll have a greater presentation at town meeting, but it's simply a matter of accountability. And as I say, many people that I speak to think that it could be approached in a better manner. Another way you could do it is precinct captains could actually count the votes and mark them, and then they could be delivered to the town clerk, and anybody who ever wanted to know would be able to tell how their particular town meeting member voted on any particular issue. And it's pretty much that simple.
Any member of the board have any questions for Mr. Finneran? Okay. All right, then we will move on to the next article, Article 13, also Mr. Finneran.
Again, I'm bringing back the CPC. I don't think we can afford it. I brought this up last time, and unbeknownst to me, similar articles were brought up in 4 other towns in the Commonwealth seeking to reduce the contribution to the CPC. I haven't done all the homework on it yet, but it's my understanding that at least one town has reduced their contributions to the CPC. I think it's either Duxbury or Marshfield, but of course I will find out. Now, I wasn't aware. There are many towns in the Commonwealth that don't have it. I have a friend in Dedham, and that's one town that doesn't. They've tried to get it, and the town's always voted it down. And again, the majority of the taxpayers that I speak to look at that top line on their tax bill and think they could do better things with their own money. The economy's not in good shape. People are being laid off. People are having their hours cut back. There isn't the money that there used to be. And we have a capital committee that's supposed to be finding ways to raise capital for needs that we have. If we were to reduce this and only pay for what we owe at the moment and basically put the brakes on it, that would free up an amount of money that could be applied to capital projects, which we obviously have a need for. Many people also don't particularly care for some of the ways that the CPC spends their money. Open space, as I went through before, this town is 48% open space already. Between the CPC, the 300 committee, the state land, the town land, and the biggest one is the conservation restrictions. Had we not given all those conservation restrictions out, we'd be collecting a hell of a lot more tax money, and we might not be in this position. But I think 48% open space is enough. A lot of people don't like the fact that they give money to churches. I mean, many of these people are the same one that profess the separation of church and state. A lot of people aren't thrilled about the money they gave to the PBS radio station in Woods Hole. They get tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars from the federal government as it is. And the last straw with me was this project on Shore Street. They're spending $98,000 a bedroom to put affordable housing on Shore Street. I mean, people can work all their lives and never get to live on Shore Street. I don't think it's a place for affordable housing. At $98,000 a bedroom, that works out to $294,000 for a 3-bedroom house. Anyone can look in the real estate transactions and see those kind of houses are selling for as little as $150,000. We just had a woman from Seacoast Shores tell us that 47% of the houses on Seacoast Shores are valued at less than $250,000. And I dare say those aren't all affordable housing. Those people are working to pay for those houses. I think that's just too much. This entity that's going to be doing this project on Shore Street is supposed to be a nonprofit. I mean,
Mr. Finneran, can you focus on your article? And
that is all part of the CPC.
No, you're straying into.
No, I'm not. It's a project that's being done by the CPC. We're spending taxpayers' money on it.
Understood, and you've made your point. Let's not go into too much detail here.
Okay, well, When I was at the meeting, the CPC, numerous meetings, when they discussed this, there was a member of one of our housing authorities there, and I said, $98,000 a bedroom. I said, you could leverage twice as much for that money, or get the same thing for half. And they said to me, don't worry, the selectmen will never give them the money. But the selectmen did. And it's just a waste of money that people do not have. And whatever. It might not be popular with you. It might not be popular with town meeting. But the people that I speak to, the everyday Joe on the street, it's not popular with them. And again, and I just want to add, if no one knows, maybe they can Google or however they get into their computer, just look up Agenda 21. That's a United Nations agenda, which is what the CPC is basically based on, or the CPA. And I think it's un-American. And we all deserve a vote on it. When this was presented to us in the beginning, we were told by the Board of Selectmen that the people of this town were savvy, I believe the term was used, and that they would have a chance to vote on this every year if they wanted to dissolve it. Now they tell us that's not possible, but anything's possible. And I think this is even probable. And keep your ear to the ground. A lot of people think the same way I do about it.
I got a
question for Mr. Finneran.
Mr. Finneran, let me get this right. Yes, look, are you saying to lower every taxpayer's 3%?
No, I'm saying to fund only what they've purchased. There's obligations.
Okay.
I want you to just devise a method where we just fund those obligations and make the taxpayer pay for that.
I understand. And then the second part where it says, therefore, creating the opportunity to fund capital projects. So in other words, we're...
Whatever remains from that 3%, you could charge the taxpayer and there would be no, they wouldn't feel it in their tax bill.
So no intent is, we're not
in other words, we're remaining within the 3%. We're just paying debt.
No, I want you to figure it out, whatever it is, 1 3/4%, and just charge that at the top of the tax bill. Then that leaves a pool of money that you guys can apply however you see fit, and the taxpayer will feel no pain.
So potentially, to maintain a level tax rate, what Mr. Finneran is suggesting is that if we could lower the CPA contribution by 1%, we could raise the general tax rate by that same amount in order to pay for services, capital improvements, and the net result would be no increase, no change in the tax rate.
And it might not be 1%, it may be more than 1%, whatever the obligations are.
Any other questions from the board?
Did you want to say something? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to say something.
I'm all set. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Finneran. All right. Not this evening, no. We're simply hearing the petitioner's presentations. So there will be opportunity.
I don't want to rebut. I just want to ask a question.
One question.
All right. There are at least two parts of the language of this petitioner's article that are very vague and perhaps are illegal. And I'm asking you whether you will get an opinion from town council on the legality of this language before it comes to the floor of town meeting. I think there are serious questions. I think last time nothing happened until it came to the floor. And I think you should get advice on this before it comes to the floor, please.
We will. Thank you. All right, the next article is Article 14. The petitioners are Michael Duffany and Karen Bissonette.
Good evening. Michael Duffany. I'm from Precinct 6, and I sit on the committee that's working towards bringing an all-purpose turf field to the Falmouth High School complex. And Karen can't be here this evening, like a lot of people, still has no power, so I offered to stand in and basically tell you that where we're at, we got $35,000 from the fall town meeting in order to seek plans and design and a location for this facility at the high school and to generate costs associated with it. And we have, so far, we have met several times. We've met with neighbors to see what they, how, we're trying to include them, see how they feel about this and the location. We have zeroed in on a location at the high school, and we've done soil samples and borings so that we know what the underlying soil conditions are, and the cost estimates and so forth are being worked up. Right now, our next meeting is scheduled for the 27th of February. As we speak, we have not been able to nail down the largest funding source for this. We had some hopes that have not panned out. So we'll be coming to town meeting with our article. We're going to tell everybody where we're at. We want to do a presentation to show people where we're at. We're not sure, as I speak tonight, where we stand for funding requests at that time. So, and I'm not sure that I'll know much before town meeting, but the idea again is to bring everybody up to speed, let them know that this project is moving forward in the right direction. It's got a lot of support, and we want to try to separate some of the pieces out for people so that they can see what part of this could be publicly funded, if you will, or, and privately funded as well. It's a lot, with donations and so forth, in kind services and that sort of thing. So that's the long and the short of where we're at. Been good progress.
So just to clarify, the actual article will probably have a different motion on the floor, having numbers, figures, and sources of revenue.
That's correct.
Great.
Fair to say.
Mike, were you looking to see if it were possible to use some of the high school funds for this from the building?
Yes, a lot of people had expressed the concern, if you will, that they felt that when they voted for the extension of the additional monies, if you will, for the high school project, that money was on their tax rate already. That was the understanding that most people have had that have approached us about it, and felt that if any of those monies that were left, not yet bonded, if you will, because they have not been borrowed, they're not sitting in the bank somewhere, if that debt exclusion could be used to help to fund some of this project as well. We've since found out that that's an uphill battle, and in all likelihood, probably not possible to do that. It was part of the original plan of the high school and the conceptual design and so forth, and it was value engineered out prior to the bid. And so, based on a technicality, that's what we've been told, that makes it very difficult, if not impossible. So, if anyone has another opinion, certainly we'd love to hear it. But anyway, we've explored that quite extensively, and that seems to be where we're at this time. So that was our major funding source, if you will, and so we'll still be looking for some money from the town, but we're not sure that at this time we're going to ask for any, and if we do, I'm not sure how much it'll be. So I can tell you everything else but the funding piece of it at this time here, but we'll have that for town meeting. So, okay.
Thank you. Last questions? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to pause here for a second. Mr. Carlton Foss, am I correct? Are you recording the meeting? I am. Okay. I think you know the procedure by now. You obviously came in late, and I didn't notice that you had the camera running until just now. So I would appreciate it that if you do come in late and you miss the beginning of the meeting, that you identify yourself to the chair and make the formal request to... Well, I'll ask the board if there are any objections to Mr. Carlton Foss continuing to record the meeting.
I have no problem with it.
Okay, we have no problem, but please, you understand the protocol by now, I think, so please adhere to it.
What signal should I, how do I get your attention?
You can stand near the lectern and wave, and obviously you've done this before, so we know that you may want to do it again, and we will recognize you. Thank you. The last petitioner's article that we'll hear this evening, Article 15, Catherine Elder is the petitioner.
Good evening, Catherine Elder, Precinct 6. I thought I would just read the article. I wasn't here earlier to see if that was the format, but is that...
If you'd like to, yeah.
Article 15 is to fund remaining Wind 1 debt obligation via a debt exclusion ballot question. To see if the town will vote to advise the Board of Selectmen to place a question on the spring 2013 annual town election ballot to fund the remaining outstanding debt for the financing of Wind 1 as a debt exclusion under the provisions of Proposition 2.5. And further, If the question is approved by a majority of the voters of Falmouth, the Board of Selectmen shall immediately order the permanent termination of operations of both Wind 1 and Wind 2, or act in any way relative thereto. This article seeks to convert existing debt from the tax levy to the tax exempt via a debt exclusion. Bonds for Wind 1 have already been issued, and the article simply seeks to change the basis for funding it. Do you have any questions?
Apparently not.
No,
It's pretty clear.
very clear. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is to discuss and vote a petition for a non-binding public opinion advisory question for the Falmouth Spring 2013 ballot, petition of Pilgrim Anti-Nuclear Action of Occupy Falmouth. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here this evening? You could come to the lectern, identify yourself, and share what it is that you would like from us.
My name is Joyce Johnson, Precinct 2, and I appreciate this getting on the agenda so quickly when we just turned it in on Thursday. Appreciate it. We do have copies of the question that Sandy can pass out to people so we know what we're talking about. I would just like to read a brief statement. If we want to provide for a future life on Cape Cod for all of us, our children and their children, and all generations to follow, and preserve our beloved habitat, we should call upon Governor Patrick and all of our representatives to demand of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission that the Pilgrim Nuclear Station be shut down. Our governor is charged with guarding our health and safety, and our respectful request could not be more germane and legitimate. This is a local issue. There are several other towns that are going to be voting on this, putting this same question on their ballot in the spring. This is generated by a group that's been working on this issue for years called Downwinders. Concern about continued operation of this faulty, aging Entergy plant, same as Fukushima, is the most urgent business our town and all towns on the Cape could be dealing with right now. The Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency is not capable of providing us with an evacuation plan, leaving us in a death trap. Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station is a catastrophe waiting to happen. We are letting Entergy play Russian roulette with our very lives by continuing to operate Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station at our peril. It is high time to question all of this authority and demand a viable future for all of us on Cape Cod. We should all be outraged. If this goes on a ballot, it would really be a wonderful opportunity for people who are concerned about this to have a vote and let our authorities know how we feel.
For the board's edification, there is in your packet, and I apologize, I don't have the chapter here, but it is section 38.38 regarding non-binding public advisory questions. A non-binding public advisory question may be placed on the ballot for a regular municipal election in any city or town with the approval of the Board of Selectmen. It may also be placed on the ballot upon presentation to the governing body of the petition, signed by at least 10 registered voters, and if we fail to approve the petition at least 90 days before the election, the question will be placed on the ballot when a petition signed by at least 10% of the registered voters is filed with the registrars. So the process here is that we can choose to support this and put it on the ballot. If we choose not to, the applicants would then be required to collect signatures from a minimum of 10% of the registered voters in Falmouth, and once those signatures are certified, it would be placed on the ballot anyway. Do we have any questions from the board?
Well, I think, yeah, that it's really up to us. I mean, 10% is about 2,000 signatures, I
A
would
lot of
think.
signatures.
Yeah, well, when you think that the candidate for the Senate has 4 weeks to get 10,000 signatures, you have about 5 weeks to get 2,000. I mean, it's not an onerous thing, but I realize it's a lot of work to do that.
Well, we would hope that you approve of this and that we don't have to.
I have, in looking at the petition, is this, it says petition for a non-binding public opinion advisory
Yes,
question?
yes.
Is this the actual language that would be in the?
This is what all the towns are using.
It
Yes.
is? Well, in just reading this, like the second paragraph says, and this is yours, it's not mine, but as a person just reading it, it says, MEMA has determined that Cape residents and visitors will not be evacuated. What actually it is the Cape is not within the evacuation zone, which I believe is 10 miles radius of the plant. So I suppose you could say that we're not determined to be evacuated, but we're not in the zone to be evacuated. So we're kind of out there on our own.
Can
And
I answer that? The
Yeah.
fact of the matter is that traffic would be coming down from the Plymouth area, going over to a shelter in Taunton. Our traffic off the Cape would not be able to move across
Right.
either one of the bridges because of this. They
Right.
would have first priority. And it's an issue.
It is an issue.
And there are a couple of other people who might want to speak to this if there's time.
Do we have any other questions?
Well, I think we've never been asked to do this before that I'm aware of, so this is kind of a first. And I'm not saying that I'm opposed to it, but I think we also have to think about the fact that if we do this just by request, which means that the petitioners don't have to get the 10% signatures, we have to think about whether or not we leave the door open for other people to ask for the same thing. And believe me, I'm very sympathetic to the cause. I have to tell you, I've worked in Plymouth for a long time, so I'm very familiar with the plant. So I just think we have to be prudent in terms of doing it. In one sense, nobody else may ever ask for it, and this might be the first and only time. Would we do it again? Would we do it 10 times?
Have you ever done it at all?
No, not since I've been on the board.
It's the first time it's ever been brought to the board.
It's ever been brought to the board to be the one to put it on the ballot
I don't mean
without the
this
signatures.
issue, I just mean in the past. Have you ever done ones
Oh,
like this?
well, yeah, we've put lots of different non-binding referendums on the ballot before, but usually they have been all done by signature.
Oh, okay.
See, this would be the first time that the board would actually put it on without we have the option, as you just read, under the general laws, to do it, but it's the first time we've been asked to do it without the signatures in my time, since 1993, as I remember.
What day is the May election?
May 21st.
May 21st.
Thank you.
It would be to your honor if you choose to do this as a first time, to allow everyone out there to have, to vote on this.
I tend to agree with Ms. Flynn on this, that I'm concerned on the one hand about a precedent that if the board chooses to move ahead with this, that we may be opening the door to inviting other individuals to bring the minimum number of signatures to us and sort of, for lack of a better term, paint us into a corner where we have a decision that we have to make about something, which quite honestly, I don't know a lot about this. And
Can I say something? There are going to be several workshops and things in the next few weeks in different places on the Cape to talk about this. You can learn about it.
that would be helpful going
Yes.
forward.
Yes.
But it's certainly information, I think, before I would put my approval on this, I'd rather have that information
Well-
first, I think.
We don't have to do it tonight. What is it? If we do it, it's 35 days?
Yes.
Which doesn't come until, what, March, something, towards the end of March? So if we wanted to do that and get a little more feedback and maybe go to some of the workshops and put it on just prior to the deadline, we could do that. But while you have the workshops, you might get even some more signatures. You might not get 2,000, but you might get a whole lot more, which would be more helpful to us if we had more than just 10 signatures, you know?
And I would certainly be more comfortable, I think, having more information. Basically, we're being asked to petition our various legislative delegations as well as the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to shut down Pilgrim. But there are a lot of questions in my mind about the ramifications of doing so.
And I think it needs to be clear to people, too, that we are not in the EZ, the evacuation zone. And is the county working hard? Yes, they are working hard to try to provide some sort of an evacuation plan for Cape residents. So it isn't that people are not actively working on that. But it is a serious issue, and that plant has issues. There's no question about it. So, I mean, and people who ask to have, people who want to bring awareness to this, it's the right thing to do. So maybe we could check that. You and I worked on that deadline today, and I think it was sometime in March, if you recall.
I think so. subject
Yeah,
to-
it's 35 days before May 21st.
So if I understand you, you're saying maybe we should just go ahead and start getting those signatures right away, and you delay your decision and see how many signatures we get?
Yeah, I mean,
We
maybe
could
if you start getting more
rise to that
signatures.
challenge?
Yeah, since you have more time, you have
Right.
nearly a month.
Right.
To get more signatures.
Yes.
That would send a much better message for us to take that step, I would think. And in the meantime, let us know when the workshops are. We can avail
Yes.
ourselves of
Right.
becoming more educated about it, as well as the community.
Wonderful.
And then there's a little more impetus for wanting to do it.
All right, we'll start with signatures more tomorrow.
Great.
All right?
We're not going to take any further public comment on this. This is simply for the board to learn about this, and
It connects to what you were saying about.
if you'd come to the lectern, very briefly, please, because we do have other items on the agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Joyce.
I just wanted to, Lilia Franton, Precinct 5. I just wanted to point out that State Senator Dan Wolf and State Representative Sarah Peak are working to put together a bill that would, which would extend the EPZ, the planning zone, the protective zone, so that Cape Cod would become part of that, so that the question of whether we would even be germane to the whole question about the emergency planning is being looked at on the state level.
Thank you.
Yes, that's very true. They're very, they have lots of concerns about the plant, and they're doing a lot actively about it. So maybe if we could ask the town manager to find the appropriate drop-dead date when this would have to go on the ballot, and in the meantime, we'll all work together and see if we can't get more, public opinion and public interest and opportunities to learn more about it, so we have a better informed public when we vote this. If that's,
I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, also, would you somehow notify our office, or unless it's going to be in the paper where these workshops are?
Yes.
I'm very interested, please.
So at this point, unless the board chooses to approve this at this time, we don't need to take any action. Are we in agreement? Okay, all right. Thank you very much. All right, next item on our agenda is to approve a request for a secondhand dealer's license. This is Faze Gallery at 556 Main Street. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative present? Okay. Apparently not, but we may, unless the board has any questions.
I think this is kind of a neat idea. This is where the kitchen bath place
The old
used to
Faze
be.
building, yeah.
And they can have different dealers in there right now. They're asking for license for two different ones, Fay and another gentleman.
Let me see.
So I think that could be a nice addition to Main Street, so.
We have feedback from the police department. The department has no problem with issuing the license. Inspectional Services is not opposed to the granting of a new common victualler license.
No, I know, that's an error.
I would
I
guess so.
saw that too. I think he means, secondhand dealer's license.
I think so, yes.
He pulled out the wrong
template.
The wrong template.
The Zoning Board of Appeals, records indicate there are no special permits attached to the property. So So it looks like everything is in order.
I would move approval of a secondhand dealer's license for Faye's Gallery.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Motion and second to approve the secondhand dealer's license. Anyone from the public care to comment? All right. We have a motion, we have a second. Last comments from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? None? Unanimous. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is to approve a request for secondhand dealer's license, R.H. Sampson Antiques and Collectibles, 566 Main Street.
For all the same reasons, I would move approval.
Well, different address, is it all the same building?
No, it's the same building, yeah.
556 and 566?
Well, it should be the same, it is the same building.
Let me just check real quick. Is
Yeah.
the applicant or the applicant's representative present this evening? Okay. They're not, but we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Well, actually, that second application has the same address of 556, so I think this may have been a typo. It should be 556 Main Street, not 566.
556.
So the license is wrong.
Yeah, the licenses probably has to be redone, right?
Okay. So is it 556 or is it 566?
Oh, it's
Every place except the license is
556.
556, because on the application it says Faye's Gallery.
Oh, it does say 566, but it's 556.
Could
Well-
that be an error on our part?
No, this is the only one that says 566. Here it says 556. Every place else it says 556.
Yeah.
So it's just on our license.
I think
that's-
it's just a,
Okay.
and the plan shows both of them in the same location, so,
Okay.
but we'll,
Well, and we have no objections from the
Check
police
and
department.
verify.
And they did say 556 Main Street. And they did specify R.H. Sampson Antiques and Collectibles.
right.
What is the board's pleasure?
I move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any public comment on this application? Hearing none. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Unanimous.
Both of these are only 2-month licenses, and they're only valid until April 30th of this year.
Well, They may come back
That is
to
correct.
extend.
Okay.
The next item on our agenda is to authorize the town manager to award the Oyster Pond CWMP to Wright Pierce Consulting Engineers in an amount not to exceed $270,000. Mr. Suso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we have Mr. Patamas here to comment on this. If the board has any questions, you had a written recommendation on the review of the proposals received, and don't know if Mr. Patamas would have any other comments.
Does anyone have any questions?
No.
I do not.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll move approval.
And I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone in the public who would wish to comment on this? Apparently not. Motion and a second. Any comments from the board then?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. Okay, and we have, next on our agenda, authorize the town manager to contract no more than $132,000 for the implementation of the Little Pond Aquaculture Project. Mr. Suso.
Thank you. Also, Mr. Chairman, a similar item, this also related to the Water Quality Management Committee, an aquaculture project for Little Pond, and recommendation to authorize the award for this demonstration project in the amount of $132,000 from funds previously set aside by town meeting.
Questions from the board?
No. I'm going to make a motion to approve it, Mr. Chairman. This is one of the things we'll be moving forward with, which I'm very finally glad to see that things are finally going forward with this aquaculture.
Second.
Motion and a second. Would anyone in the public care to comment on this? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Last comments from the board? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition? Unanimous. All right, we have minutes of meetings, January 30, 2013, public session.
I move approval of the minutes of January 30th, public session.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as printed. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Unanimous. Then we have the minutes of February 4, public session.
Move approval of the minutes of February 4th, public session, as printed.
Second.
Wait a second. Are they in the same,
I was looking for the executive session minutes.
yeah, they come first
They're right here.
on the 4th.
That is, we'll address
So-
those separately. That is a separate sheet.
It is?
It
Yeah.
is actually, if you
Oh,
go to the
okay.
end.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it worked out actually.
Yes.
Separate page.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as printed. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain, I was not present. Motion carries. And then we have the minutes, February 4, the executive session.
I'll move approval and not to release.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve and not to release.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain, I was not present. Motion carries. Okay. Next item on our agenda are the summary of actions. I will go through each of these, and if anyone would like to hold it, please let me know. Item 1 is to approve NSTAR petition to install one 4-inch underground conduit, 133 Davisville Road. Item number 2 is approve requests for special event, Recovery Without Walls Charity Volleyball, Falmouth Heights Beach, June 15, 2013. Item number 3, approve request for special event, Safe Boating Week, U.S. Power Squadron, Surf Drive Beach, May 25, 2013. Item number 4, approve request for special event, West Falmouth Playground Fundraiser, Livestock Lottery, March 23, 2013. Item number 5, approve request for beach parking permit, Despina Emanu, oh, I so apologize. I cannot pronounce this last name, and I don't want to mangle it. Surf Drive Beach Parking Lot, June 22, 2013.
Immuniolitis.
Thank you very much.
How'd you know that?
It's great. I can, you know.
You're better at it than I am. Item number 6, approve request for one-day liquor license, Woods Hole Public Library Concert Fundraiser, February 15, 2013. Right, hearing no holds, I need a motion for items 1 through 6.
So move.
Okay. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, unanimous. All right. Which brings us to the last of our unscheduled items on the agenda. We have the individual selectmen's reports. Does anyone have anything they wish to share with the board?
Just, I want to make a public comment, Mr. Chairman. I had attended quite a few meetings last week. I think it was 8, including mine, and at one of them, when I was discussing an item in the capital advisory, the cable committee, there was a reporter present, and we started discussing the amount of meetings I had gone to, it's different things I wanted to go. Some of the committees weren't even mine, but there was interesting things on, like the planning board was talking about sober houses, et cetera, but he quoted me as saying something to the effect that, I've been to these meetings, no other selectmen get to go to any meetings or don't attend any meetings, and that is not what I said, and I certainly want to apologize to you if you read the article, and it appeared that I made the comment that none of the other selectmen on the board have been attending any meetings. I know that to be totally false with the stuff you are doing with the state and all you guys locally. I just want to make sure that's perfectly clear, and I will follow up with a phone conversation with the reporter tomorrow just to make sure that doesn't happen again, so.
It didn't sound like you.
It absolutely wasn't, believe me. So I'm sorry you went all weekend thinking that.
Well, I was a little preoccupied this past weekend, so I didn't even notice.
Well, I just felt the need to say after Doug and I spoke. And I'll do a report on those committees in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
There you go.
Then we'll move on to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple items. Recently forwarded to the board a report from Mass DOT on the Falmouth station and its physical condition. That is an item being worked on by an informal volunteer committee, the Falmouth Station Restoration Committee. I know Mr. Paul Dreyer has been very active in that and is happy to transmit an update from MassDOT to the board on that important public building. Also, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you may recall some months ago you extended authorization for a pilot LED lighting project, one in a commercial area, one in a residential area. I wanted to confirm to the board that those pilots have now been installed. As a reminder, again, two separate areas, one on Main Street in front of the Gus Canty Center. 4 Cobra Head streetlights there have been, we've had LEDs installed as opposed to the normal, the existing lighting. And from the residential standpoint on Seacoast Shores Boulevard from Yale Avenue to Hardwell Avenue, again, 4 Cobra Head streetlights there have had LED lamps installed as opposed to the normal lighting. And we invite the public as well as the board to take a look at your convenience and provide whatever input you think would be appropriate. The Peter McConerty, our town engineer, notes that the lights are indeed brighter, not a surprise there, but more concentrated in a downward vertical direction. So again, the opportunity for comment is certainly appropriate. Also, Mr. Chairman, as the board's well aware, New England was faced with a very serious winter storm, a significant historic blizzard, which arrived on Friday, continued through the weekend. And a few comments, if I may, Mr. Chairman, on that. As the board's aware, we've been in touch through the storm event and issuing periodic communications. And this is the latest one, Mr. Chairman. Although the situation is not completely behind us, as a significant but declining percentage of town residents remain out of power, I do want to take this opportunity to thank a number of individuals who've been instrumental in emergency operations for the town in direct service to our residents. And prior to making that note, I do want to indicate that we are pleased that the household, the customers out of power has been declining significantly in Falmouth in our work with NSTAR. As of just prior to coming in at 6:30, I noted that the percentage of customers out of power, which I believe had been at a high of 68 to 70% at one time during the height of the storm, has now been reduced to 12% per report available on NSTAR's website. A little over 3,000 customers still affected in Falmouth. That is a smaller percentage than our immediate neighbors, Bourne and Sandwich, and we're pleased that that number continues to diminish significantly. And I would suspect as of this hour, a little past 8:30, that may well have dropped below 12%, for which we intend to continue to monitor and encourage. But I do want to thank some individuals, those being, and again, in doing so, recognizing that there are many, many others that could be named, and I'm reluctant to do that. Just some of those individuals I've worked with most closely in the past weekend, those being our Emergency Operations Director, Mark Sullivan, Ed Dunn from the Police Department, Mark Sullivan, of course, Fire Department, Public Works Director Ray Jack, Dan DiNardo, who is our CERT Director and really provided leadership and supervision at our temporary shelter set up at the high school. Mark Dupuy, of course, our school superintendent. Jerry Patamus, our wastewater director, who spent a number of hours, multiple days through the weekend. Kim Strom, also involved in the fire department and emergency operations. All Falmouth Police, Fire, and Public Works personnel, Falmouth Hospital personnel, Falmouth Emergency Shelter personnel, NSTAR Storm Recovery and Restoration personnel, Regional Public Safety and Transportation personnel, and of course the many, many, many other community volunteers, far too numerous to mention individually by name, but who have acted heroically and selflessly in service to the town of Falmouth and our residents during this challenging winter storm event. To all those volunteers, your selfless service to others is indeed an inspiration to us all, and we're happy to report that we are well on the way to recovery from this major storm event, and I thank all of those who have stepped forward in service to the community as an indication of the readiness which the community holds to respond to emergency events. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
If I may, I spent some time Saturday with Julian, 3 hours. We get this thing, we go out in my truck after storms, and it was, the first thing that I mentioned and what struck me was at 1:30 Saturday afternoon was the amount of roads cleared. And, you know, the condition they were in, it was absolutely amazing. We saw loads of trees down and telephone poles that were down on Minot Road, and you saw many of the trucks out from out of state. Well, I just wanted to relate a story that Sunday afternoon, I was at 5 o'clock, I was at the Hess station at 151, and there was these 18 Pike electrical trucks out of Carolinas, and I talked with one of them. And I said, gee, you guys, I want to thank you for coming up. And he says, it's a small community with these electric companies. He says, you're always there for us, and we're here for you. So although we look at, you know, they're a very small community, it was amazing. There was 18 of them there, and they all come up here to help us out. And I just want to say, because I went to the EOC with Julian to watch them work, and I know we always say to, you know, thank you for what you've done. Some people critical say, hey, that's what they get paid for, but let me tell you to watch. When we went to the shelter to see the people giving of their time, to watch the people at the EOC, the leadership of Ed Dunn, which really showed a lot to me this with his men, and I've talked to them. They're just very happy over there, and just everything seemed to fall into place. And also with Chief Sullivan, we got a really good, staff of people in place. I'm really proud of them. And coming from me, it may not mean much, but I wanted to publicly say that I really do. So.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, could I just one supplemental comment, if I may, just to, alert the board as well, and I certainly appreciate Selectman Braga's comments firsthand. It means a great deal to all of us. Thank you. That all of these operations, our standard procedure is to gather all the information we have, take the time to assess, and look at how we can do things better the next time. And so it's a constant process of improvement. Again, many individuals working tirelessly, many dedicated, many volunteers, as I noted, but we all recognize that we want to do it better the next time around. So we constantly try to set the bar higher, and I tip my hat to all of them for their commitment to that, to constant improvement as well. So the next time that we're challenged, we want to do it that much better. And this is the opportunity that's afforded to us.
Well, I will tell you, when you have your follow-up meeting, I don't know how much more you can improve on. I was so impressed with the way everything really, I'm sure there'll be something, but I didn't see it. And I just,
Thank you.
Really.
All right. Well, with that, we've reached the end of our agenda. It's something we've done in the past, and I'll entertain it this evening. Questions from the public?
So it's a question that's not as versed in Robert's rules as you, perhaps, Mr. Vice Chairman, but either a point of order, clarification, or procedure, I'm not sure. Under your summary of actions, when you were asking if anyone wanted to hold anything, I assumed you were asking the board.
Yes.
I had actually communicated with Chairman Murphy about an item on tonight's summary of actions that I did want held. I didn't know that, I don't know if he traded notes with you or if it was opportunity for audience, which would be, I guess, my point of clarification to ask for a hold.
I apologize, because usually it is something that the board would hold. These are usually cursory requests and events of the last week, and Mr. Murphy and I didn't communicate perhaps as much as we should have.
I'm not certain that he would have held it, but saying on the off chance he would have, I was here prepared. Actually, there were a number of other folks who were here to speak towards it. Is there a way to continue it perhaps under your rules?
Well, at this point, we've already approved it. I would suggest whatever concerns you might have, I would suggest meeting with someone in the town manager's office to see if those concerns can be addressed. And the town manager can communicate to us if there's some further action that the board may need to take. If we need to go so far as to say unapprove it or modify our approval, then I'm sure the town manager can communicate that to us.
Excellent.
I have a comment on that, too. I think, I noticed, I was busy signing, so I wasn't really looking at the audience, but I saw the Dohertys were here, and then I saw them leave. And then I thought, you know, if people really want to say something about an event, they should really ask to give it a time, rather than put it at the end, because we just vote these. They're just summary of actions. So that if someone really wants to comment on an event or promote it in some way, they should probably ask the office to give them a time on the agenda so they
Understood.
could.
No, I think it worked out very well for the Dohertys tonight.
Why, because they didn't want to make the
Well,
presentation?
I don't think they wanted to hear mine, but.
Oh. Well,
But
anyway.
Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. And do we have any further questions from the public? Questions from the press?
No?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And a second. Any objections? We are adjourned. Good evening.
I got to tell you.
Cavosa Excavating is a family-owned and operated company specializing in the installation of Title V septic systems. Cavosa Excavating is one of the largest septic system installers on Cape Cod. Whether it's upgrading your current system or installing a whole new system, Cavosa Excavating can do the job. Cavosa Excavating, 508-563-5530.
Founder Abraham Penn taught a valuable lesson that has been part of a tradition since 1919 when he said, "I'd rather make a friend than make a sale." For more than 90 years, Puritan has been making friends as a unique family-owned company right here in Cape Cod. At Puritan Cape Cod on 199 Main Street, as well as Chatham, Mashpee, and Hyannis, you'll find the latest in men's and women's clothing, as well as ski and tennis equipment, and much more. Puritan Cape Cod, 548-0116, or PuritanCapeCod.com.
Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging is nestled in a woodland setting on a picturesque ocean inlet. Green Harbor offers so much for a fun-filled yet affordable family waterfront vacation. Enjoy our private boating beach with ramp and dock, free rowboats and paddle boats, oversized heated outdoor pool and kiddie pool. You'll enjoy our attractive waterfront and beachside accommodations. So visit us online at gogreenharbor.com.